Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Page, Christopher DePerno, and Tara Diulis. Exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night, and you are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON, brought to you by KGRADB.com. Please go to their website and subscribe. They have so many great shows and such great content on there. You won't be disappointed, I promise you. We are endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. We've been on the front line since 1969, asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Page, the Colorado State Director. I want to wish everybody out there, I got my holiday best on. I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. Whatever it is that you all celebrate, I hope it's a happy one, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday week. Tonight, we have a fabulous guest. She is such a dear friend of mine, Mary Edwards. She has designed residential and commercial environments, and this eventually helped and she helped design the interior for NASA's International Space Station and has ET contact since the age of 5. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Mary. First, I would like to bring in our co-host. We have Tara Diulis. You see Tara also on Sky Tour Radio here on KGRA. Hi, Tara. How you doing? Merry Christmas.
Well, Merry Christmas, Katie. What's up, everybody? Glad to be here. I got my holidays shirt on too. So
I know. I'm so happy to see that. I'm like, we are so festive. We are just such in the spirit, aren't we?
Right.
Great. Let's bring in Chris DePerno. He is the state director for New York. He's also on the he's also on the. Yes, he's on iDetective on KGRA as well. Thank you, Tara, for helping me there. And he has his friends, Jerry and Jenna. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. If I can keep this guy under wraps. He's so excited about Christmas. He wants to go help Santa Claus. Santa Claus doesn't need any help, especially from him and stuff. So he's got his hat on. He's got his sunglasses because he gets snow blindness. So,
snow blind.
Yeah, but it's 8:00 at night. And he still wants to wear it. Yeah,
that's adorable.
He's a cool guy, you know.
Yeah, I got him a Christmas present. His Christmas present. I paid off all his bills from his bookie, so he's got a clean slate for 2023. I never knew aliens gambled. They gamble like crazy, man. They stuff like that. Anyways.
That's probably why they come to Earth, because they just get in trouble. You know, they're a bunch of crazy teenagers coming down, flying down to Earth, gambling, drinking. Who knows what they're doing?
Well, he says girls are easy, so I don't know.
I've heard that.
Oh, no.
Anyways, we got a great show tonight. Mary Edwards is going to be on. It's fabulous. I really got a lot of questions to ask her about the interior of NASA. You know how they built it and stuff like that. I'm very fascinated by everything that NASA built, because with NASA they're called NASA. Why? Never a straight answer. So let's get the answer from somebody else. All right.
Right. So Tara, what do you have to kick us off this week?
Well, I wanted to say happy holidays to everybody too. Have you guys seen those cell towers around that are disguised as trees?
Yes. They think they're so clever.
I know. Well, around in Arizona, they're all little palm trees. But check this out. Here's 2 aliens wandering around in a snow-covered forest, and a gray comes across a robot sawing down a cell tower tree for his Christmas.
Oh, no. Somebody's going to be without power.
I know. Well, it's every tree has someone who loves it, so that's that. So also what I have, speaking of trees, Amanda, if you can put up those first things, I have a couple ornaments. Here's Santa, UFO Santa. So here we go. We've got our green alien, so you could decorate your trees with these. What else was fun? I wanted to show you these Christmas cards. Here's some vintage Christmas cards, and here you see there's the aliens and Santa both in space, and they're both passing each other in the night saying, shh, you
Gary!
can't see anything. Yeah, there he is, Chris. Right.
Yep.
This vintage card came from the USSR. It's really beautiful. I just think they're fun, these older cards. And I think there's one or two more, Amanda. This is my favorite. It's from 1953, cool. And it's the Universal Carolers coming to carol at Santa's house. And look, he's like in this. Look at that door of Santa's house. It looks like it's a submarine or something, but you have all these wonderful carolers loving each other, wishing each other well for Christmas. I love it. I love it. What do you think?
I love it. Can you still get those Christmas cards? Or
yes, all of those cards are available on Etsy. I'm sorry, they're all available. So just search vintage UFO Christmas cards and you'll find them. There's a whole bunch of them. Yes,
I'm getting some for next year. I missed the boat this year, but for next year, those are super cool. And speaking of your ornaments, that's right up my alley. And I included a little video. I have just a kooky, untraditional Christmas tree. Amanda, if you would like to roll that. So I kind of do this whole hodgepodge. I have the UFO there as a tree topper, and it kind of lights up. You put one of the lights there. I also have a space theme. So we have, the space shuttle and Discovery, the Apollo missions. I also have my Bigfoots on there, astronauts. There's a little Sasquatch right there. Of course, the UFOs. But I'm also kind of a dork. I sort of like the robots. So I have my robots on there as well. It's just a lot of fun, and I've been collecting these for several years now. There's Mr. Alien there, and Hallmark came out with some really great UFO-themed ornaments this year. If you go to your local Hallmark store, they have E.T., which actually you push a button and he speaks, and that one right there, that alien with the abduction, that's a Hallmark ornament for this year. So cool. I was surprised to see that. So there you have.
Hey, there's Bigfoot.
Yeah, we have Bigfoot and the rockets, and I added a little splash of color there with the candy canes and the silver balls. But and the little laser beam. Boop, 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 boop. I don't know. I think I was reincarnated. I must have been a little boy sometime in my past because I'm just fascinated with space and robots. There's a little ET you get at Hallmark. So he does all the little signs and, So anyway,
that's awesome.
Just wanted to share that with you all. I hope you all have a happy holidays.
Oh, that's great. Is that the Christmas music playing in your house too?
Yeah, it does. And I have a rotating stand, which you can buy these rotating stands for your tree, which I love because typically you put them on, on the back of the wall and you can't see all the ornaments. So this rotates and you get to see all the ornaments. So I don't know if you could tell that from the video, but it's a lot of fun.
I didn't know if you were walking around in circles or.
Yeah.
One of those bulbs remind me of a bong my college roommate had.
Oh no!
He was very festive all the time.
Was he spaced out?
I'm just telling you.
He was spaced out.
It was like a bong. And he was very festive. He had Christmas probably every week.
I bet he was. I bet he had the best sweater. Anyway.
That sounds great. Well, also, thanks for sharing that, Katie. That was just awesome. That was very cool. And the last thing I want to show you was this awesome Yeti from Paranormal Pops. And kind of the season, it looks a little chilly, but nice flavor. And all those wonderful, fun, edible gifts can be found on paranormalpops.com. So that's all I have for you today. I'm curious to know what Chris has for us for the news. So
I like that Bigfoot piece of candy. It's a diabetic's delight.
Yeah.
All right, let's get with the news of the week.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is the best story to end the year. I'm telling you right now, I combed this one. I couldn't believe it, but I checked it out, and it sure enough is real. And to our mighty friends at the Pentagon's UFO investigation finds no evidence of alien origin. Okay, the Pentagon has reviewed hundreds of incidents and said they have not yet been able to find any evidence that extraterrestrials may be responsible for hundreds of UFO incidents they're reviewing or that alien beings have crashed on Earth. So, folks, the entire world are liars. All right, senior Pentagon officials relayed to this reporter in a briefing to highlight the broad review headed by the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. That's Arrow, I guess. I don't know. Working with other federal agencies to review unidentified aerial phenomenon incidences. Unidentified anomalous phenomenons, or UAPs, which is the new term for UAPs, has itself gone a name change and is no longer limited to aerial phenomenons. UFO enthusiasts have been waiting for this for long delayed annual update by the Director of National Intelligence to their 2020 report that could explain only one of the 144 incidents it reviewed. Listen, folks, this Amanda, put that one picture back. I got it. Yeah, you see this guy here? This is the guy head of naval intelligence, and he can't bring a decent computer to the congressional hearing. So I have no faith. The Pentagon's update gave hint of what is coming in the upcoming report might reveal. At a congressional hearing in May, Pentagon officials say they were now reviewing about 400 UAP incidents. Officials said that so far, nothing seems to indicate extraterrestrial origins in the incidents they have reviewed so far. Wait a minute, I got to play this tape because this is how much of a joke it is. He's a little astonished. And you fly the friendly skies of American Airlines.
I love it. Oh,
That's how we used to dress and everything back in the day.
you dressed up to go to the plane.
You did dress up to fly. That's
Don't
great.
worry, there's
I
nothing
love
to
this.
it, people. Nothing to it. That was awesome.
So, as far as UFOs, at this time, the answer is no, said Ron Moultrie, the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security. We have nothing. Everybody else has everything, but the Pentagon has nothing. He added that nothing has been found that any of the objects they have seen are of alien in origin. Well, if China has it and the Russians have it, you might as well put up the white flag, folks. I have not seen anything in those holdings to date that would suggest there have been an alien visitation, an alien crash, or anything like that, he said. Moultrie explained that by the holdings, he was referring to documents, witness interviews, written recollections from witnesses. ARROW director Sean Kilpatrick told reporters that his office was taking a sober approach to the review and would not rule out they better buy a bottle of bourbon. I would say that we are right now. Well, if they're sober and they come up with this idea, they better get drunk. I would just our analysis to be very thorough and rigorous. We will go through it all, says Kilpatrick. As a physicist, I have to adhere to the scientific method, and I will follow that data and science wherever it goes. Moultrie noted that some of the incidents under review may be from right here on Earth. I think it would be safe to say that there will be probably a number of these activities that could be characterized as non-adversarial systems. Things like balloons and things like UAVs that are operated for the purpose that surveillance or intelligence collection. Intelligence, that's a word the Pentagon should never use. Kilpatrick agreed that it was fair characterization, but there could be multiple explanations. I would just emphasize that not a single answer for all this, right? There are going to be lots of different answers, he said. And part of my job is to sort out all those hundreds of cases, which one go to which things, I don't know. Our team knows that the public interest in UAP is high. We are developing a plan to provide regular updates and progressing reporting on the public on our work. Good luck with that. He added that he explained that any potential releases would have to be weighed against maintaining some information classified for national security purposes. Moultrie said that now on UAP no longer stands for unidentified aerial phenomena. Our new terminology expands the scope of UAP to include submerged, transmedium objects, and identify phenomenon, all domains, whether in the air, in the ground, in the sea, in the space,
In your mind.
in your lunch, in your bathroom. I was going to say something else, but I'm trying to make it a family. Pose potential threats to personal security, operation security, and they require our urgent attention. They've only been waiting on this for 70 years, and now they take urgent attention. Amanda, roll that tape.
What happens when we are seen in places unexpected? While on some occasions we might generate some curiosity, on others we might even leave some raised eyebrows. But there is one phenomenon that elicits both these reactions almost at the same time. Unidentified foreign objects. Who hasn't heard of them? Popularly known as UFOs, described as flying saucer lookalikes, have since long captured the public's fancy, sending Homo sapiens into a frenzy, keeping the story alive over the years. According to reports, the Pentagon set up a new office in July this year to handle reports related to UFO sightings, as 144 UFO sightings were shared with the U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence between 2004 and 2021, leading to opening up of AARO, which stands for All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Apart from Sky, AARO is also responsible for tracking unidentified objects underwater and even in space. The office was established after UFOs attracted more than a year's continuous attention. According to reports, these UFOs were primarily observed by military pilots but were not reported due to a fear of stigma. The office was set up not only to examine the question of whether there is extraterrestrial life, but also because of the security risk posed by so many encounters with unknown flying objects by military installations and aircraft. Though the Pentagon's UFO investigation finds no evidence of alien activity, the Congress held its first hearing in May this year in more than half a century on the subject. The members expressed concern over the objects being alien or potentially a new technology, with top Pentagon official Scott Bray showing a clip of an unidentified object observed by a Navy pilot in 2021. Bray, the Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence, told lawmakers he did not have an explanation for what the specific object was. He added that there were a number of events for which they did not have an explanation. Flown in by China, Russia, or other adversaries, they feared that the new technology in question could be stealth bombers, stealth fighters, drones, and hypersonic missiles. The Pentagon's effort to investigate anomalous unidentified objects has led to hundreds of new reports now being investigated. U.S. defense officials stated on Friday. In June this year, NASA too launched a UFO study despite reputational risk involved. So is there someone out there? Well, we'll have to wait a little longer before we have a conclusive answer to this elusive question.
Even this lady can't get it right. Unidentified foreign objects.
Foreign objects. Well, they are foreign, I guess. Maybe
all right,
foreign.
Katie, what do you think?
Well, I think they got one thing right. I think that the answer is multifaceted and it's not one simple thing. So, they got that right. But come on, Pentagon. Don't play games with us.
These are the guys that brought you the Gulf of Tonkin, the Vietnam War, and the mass weapons in Iraq. So
I actually just got to see the Pentagon, so it was kind of neat to see in person. But anyway, so yeah, they got that right. What do you think, Tara?
Oh, I think if it's not alien, then whose technology is it then? So they are studying it because it's not ours. So
That's
I think
true.
it's interesting.
Good point. Good point. I see that UFO on toast. That's another place you see it. Like you see the face of Jesus on your toast. Okay, so do you have any more news for us, Chris?
I saw the UFO in my mashed potatoes tonight, but I
Did you? But I ate it.
All right, let's get rid of that story. All right, here we go. Nuclear submarine buzzed by underwater object traveling faster than speed of sound. The incredible encounter, which took place in the late 1990s, has come to light after a scientist on board decided to speak to a YouTube channel. Well, he really hit the big times and revealed his terrifying experience. A nuclear submarine was buzzed by an unidentified object traveling underwater faster than the speed of sound. The claim came from a scientist who had to be carrying out classified work on board the USS Hampton. Bob McGuire told fighter pilot turned UFO researcher Chris Leo how the sub was passed at an astonishing speed while it was running deep and fast in the late 1990s. He said the encounter was confirmed by a member of the crew who was shocked by the speed of the unidentified submerged object or USO. No, you are a UAP. McGuire said you are underway, and all of a sudden I hear the sound, but there's no sound. Swoosh. Anyways, I made the sound for you. Swoosh. It's really strange because it's clear what is going on, and it's something is by whizzing by us, and it's moving so fast that I just can't believe it. This thing blew by us and like we were standing still, he added. A person with knowledge of onboard systems came out and said, this thing is going faster than the speed of sound underwater, but that's faster than the speed of sound in the air. I have no idea. Amanda, roll that tape.
Took off, booking it.
Break Omaha, pick me kid, Rocco Peralta, pass ability to launch Hilo ASAP.
Splashing and bearing rain. Sure. Got 2 winds, 30 knots. Keep going, bro. Let's go down. You're making sense. We could probably bring down 35 relative.
Windy as fuck outside.
Sir.
Yeah, that brings it down.
We got a lot of white water out there, some 6-foot swells. Whoa, it's getting close.
Yeah, we have 31 knots sustained wind, topside, gust of 40.
Whoa, splashed. Mark bearing and range.
We may well be looking at a true unknown, which is to say intelligently controlled machinery that is not understood to be in the possession of the United States, China or Russia, which are the three most advanced countries in terms of military aviation. The Pentagon itself has admitted this continuing trend of truly unexplained things.
Well, what do you think, Katie?
I think that's some awesome footage. And Tara, didn't Mark D'Antonio, wasn't he on a submarine and had a fast mover? That he called it a fast mover.
Yes.
So he actually experienced that as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to know why we can see them. It seems like a lot of these things are cloaked, and why are we able to see some of these things above the water? I mean, it's we see some, but not others. And how come the ones underwater aren't cloaked, or are we just running into a few that aren't? It's kind of weird to me.
Right. Maybe they can't cloak underwater. I don't know.
Very interesting.
Maybe there's a whole civilization underwater that we just are not ready to get down and meet them yet. I would not doubt that at all. If there was an entire civilization living under the sea, you know, and we just are on the top and they're on the bottom, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
You'd think we could see them, but anyway, very interesting, Chris.
All right. Well, that's the news this week.
Very interesting. Thanks, Chris. So for case of the week this week, I'll make this one short. This is case number 127196. It's a category 1 case out of Bridgeport, Connecticut. It happened on December 2nd, 2022. So this is a recent case. 10:12 a.m., the witness stated, I looked up in the sky and looked at a plane flying by. The plane wasn't really high because the airport was nearby. As soon as I looked at the plane, 2 big green lights just flashed on really brightly. I grabbed my phone and started recording. I recorded for 1.28 minutes, and most people can't see anything on the video. But after I edit the video and blew it up, I see it. And it was closed as an unknown other since they couldn't see a structured craft in the video. So I had fun with this. First of all, I just have to say the video on this case was hilarious because there were so many cuss words. So I had to edit out. Like, I tried to go over, but it was too much. So I had to cut it like literally out. But I thought it was a really good example. And I think this guy he saw something. I mean, he was looking at him and his buddy's like going, I don't see anything, man. You're crazy. I can't see anything. He goes, no. And it's just such a funny video. But then I took it and I slowed it down a lot and I can see something. So Amanda, if you want to run that first original video with the cuss words edited.
Look at it right there, bro. See the green? Oh, snap.
Dude, you flipped it off?
Yo, right there, bro. Look at it. See the green? The plane just went right by it, bro. What is that? Yo, right there, straight ahead, bro. The plane just went right by it. You see the green and the red?
No.
Come on, yo. Look, yo. Look at it right there again. Look at it.
Dude.
Yo, I'm not bugging, bro. Look at the red and green right there, bro, up in the sky. Look at it. Just
high
stare.
up? I don't see
Way up.
anything.
Look at it right there. Just stare at it a little bit, and you'll see it. What is that?
Dude, you're bugging.
I'm not bugging, bro. It's on video. See it over there? Look at it over there. Yo, look straight up in the sky. You see? Just stare. You see like a green light pulling a red light up, bro.
Dude.
What the that, bro? Yo, right? Are you kidding me, bro? You don't see that, bro?
No.
Come on, bro. I'm nothing crazy, bro. I saw when the plane went right by it too, bro.
Dude, I don't see anything.
Okay, you got. Remember, there's a blue in behind. You see it right there? Look at it going up, bro. It just keeps going up, bro. Look at that shit. Bill, are you colorblind?
I must.
Look at the red and green. Are you kidding me, bro? No, bro. Are you kidding me? You don't see that.
No, I don't.
You colorblind, bro. Colorblind.
You're colorblind, bro. I'm not bugging.
I think he's been smoking from that Christmas bong. I don't see anything.
Let's leave Tree.
Okay,
I
all
didn't
right.
see anything.
So I watch it over and over and over, and I slowed it down. So there's something there. He wasn't bugging, man. He wasn't, dude. Okay, Amanda, if you can roll that second tape. I thought it sounded like Bill too. Like it's Bill.
I thought it was Bill.
Actually looked at the witness's name because I thought it was going to be Bill.
Oh my God.
That's so funny. So what do you guys think?
Well, other than he's got a lot of lint on his sweater, there was something in the air.
Mhm.
No, yeah, these are the photos. Okay, so we
Cool.
stopped him. Yeah, so there's one photo. That's right. There was a couple photos, and there's the other photo.
Oh,
So we managed
It's
to the
something.
FI managed to get it. Yeah, there's something there. There's something there.
There is
Cool.
something there.
cool. That guy has good vision.
Yeah, supervision.
I don't see
That's a
any
funny
green-
video though.
I don't see any green or red light, but he did see something.
He saw something, so I don't know. So that is an unknown other, and that's a good example
Wow.
of how we classify an other when we can't see structured craft. So that's case of the
It
week.
just goes to show you if you're high, you could probably see a lot of stuff at high.
Maybe Santa was making a test run. I don't know.
Probably. He has to do that.
So did we catch up with Bob this week?
We did, and
Okay,
I'll tell
all
you,
right.
he had a great video. You got to see this one.
good.
Amanda, would you?
All
roll
right.
that?
Hi, everybody. This is Bob Spearing, MUFON's Director of International Investigations. I'd like to thank Chris and the crew for having me on this week to give you a video of interest from our case file. This week, we'll do case 126620. It happened in November in Brazil. It's put on by an airport tower camera. What you're going to witness next. Let's watch the film. This is the airport in Brazil, and if you look out in the distance, you'll see a blinking light rising up in the sky. As it gets closer, you're going to see that it appears to be a triangle. It's got a blinking light, which could be suggestive of an airplane, but also triangles have been known to have blinking red lights. It keeps turning in a slow arc.
4248, chame Torre 118 bom pouso. 218, boa.
Francisco 678, mantém ponto de espera. An 3140 no solo 52, livre a pista esquerda e aposta que Eco Delta Mike 4, posição 9.
Okay, at the very end of that video, you can see very clearly equilateral triangle lights. While it could be a plane, there's also, it happened during a 5-day UFO wave in Brazil in November. The investigator considered that it was Starlink satellites, which I don't agree with at all. It's clearly something in the atmosphere. It was at the peak of a UFO wave in Brazil in November, and it clearly seems to be equilateral. We need to do more analysis on this. Unfortunately, the quality of the video isn't good, but I would put this one in an unknown category, especially since that whole entire week there were a lot of UFO reports in this part of Brazil. So we're going to leave this one as an unknown this week for the time being till it can be analyzed further. That's it for this week. I'm Bob Spearing. I'd like to thank Chris and the crew again for having me on, and hopefully I'll see you again next week.
Wow. Thank you, Bob. Was it moving back and forth like that?
Yes.
Like jumping?
Yeah, that's
like
the very first
that's not
question I asked
Starlink.
him.
That's not Starlink then.
No, and it's not a plane, and it's not a
planes
drone.
don't do that. No.
But,
Wow. That's
my very
cool.
first question to him was the camera guy moving the camera? He said absolutely not. So that movement by it is its actual movement.
Wow. I can't wait to see what they dig up on that one. What do you think, Tara?
Oh, that's fascinating. I'm curious too. Yeah. Keep an eye
Good
on
one.
it.
Good one, Bob. Good one, Bob.
Yay.
Well, I think it's time we bring on our guest. And let me read her bio here. Mary Edwards grew up with a rocket scientist's father and grandfather, with artists and architects who inspired her love of space and her work in her creative arts career in art, design, and architecture. For decades, she designed residential and commercial environments and eventually helped design the interiors for NASA's International Space Station, which further stimulated her keen interest in space. Her contact experiences with extraterrestrials began in her childhood at ages 5, 6, and 10 and have continued to the present day. Along with psychotherapist Barbara Lamb, she created a book for children to validate their experiences with extraterrestrial beings, Kids' Adventures with ET Friends in Space. She is inspired and guided by her galactic family to keep growing in her awareness of them and her work with them and share this reality with more people. She shares her own and other people's experiences in a series of interviews for the Conscious Awakening Network on Roku, Apple Plus, and YouTube. Her passion and drive inspire others of all ages to raise their consciousness and be aware of the vast amount of life in the universe and in other dimensions. She is contributing to the amazing awakening time we humans live in. Please welcome to the show, Mary Edwards. Hi, Mary. So glad you could be here with us.
Hi, it's great to be here with
Hello,
you.
Mary. Welcome to the show.
And she has her festive scarf on too.
I do.
Yay. Chris, where's your ugly Christmas sweater?
Isn't that it?
This is it.
Good one.
Oh, Tara.
I will come
funny.
back with something festive at the break.
That's funny. Well, Mary, I would just love first to start off with your wonderful book to children, because this is actually a market that is not tapped as much as it should be. Oh, look, Tara has a copy.
I love it. I love it. It's wonderful. It's just gorgeous. Wonderful.
Yes. So if we could talk a little bit about that, and if Tara has the book, we could show pictures. So what inspired you, and can you tell us a little bit about that project?
Sure. Well, I have a copy here too.
Yay!
When I went on a craft at age 5 and 6 and 10, at age 5, I had no idea what I was doing up there. And I went back, and my father happened to be there too, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I wanted to help other kids and do a book that really helped aid other kids and parents to talk about these sort of wild and weird experiences they might have had while they were a young child, like I was. Because I had a father and parents that were involved with the government and NASA and the military, he was never allowed to talk to me about that. Felt like I was crazy for many years, even as a child coming back home from that experience, and asked him, what were we doing up there? That was wild. And it was really scary. And I was, on this cold table, and I'm also still a very sensitive person as an older person. And there were bright lights and a couple of ETs, a few grays. And anyway, so I had this idea in my mind, this real reality in my mind as a 5 and a 6-year-old and then a 10-year-old, but particularly as the 5-year-old. And so I spent my whole life wondering what the heck that was. And because my parents, until they're both at their deathbeds 10 years ago and 2 years ago with my mother, I said, okay, you have one more chance to tell me what happened. And they both went, you have a really creative mind. You've got a great imagination. So I'm 71 now. And that I finally talked to my father recently a few times. And I said, Dad, why the hell didn't you tell me? Why couldn't you say anything? And he went like this, and he said, we were told to shut up. We weren't allowed to talk about it. I was sworn to secrecy. He said, my dad's company and my grandfather's company worked with NASA and the government from the late 1890s all the way through to they sold their aeronautical and aerospace company in mid 1990s. So anyway, on and off for my whole life, I thought whatever this thing was, I needed to, and it wouldn't go away. And I knew it was real. And I brought it up time and time and time again to them. And then I finally just dropped it by the time I was about 8 or 9 or 10. Anyway, so I carry these memories inside me and really hid out with a lot of it for most of my life until I started actually having the opportunity to talk to them the last few months. But so when I moved to Boulder, Colorado, go Bucks for all the Coloradans there. I lived there for 10 years before I moved here to San Francisco. I went to my first astrologer at age 19, and this person said, you're a starseed, you're a baby mama, and you've been off planet your whole life. And I went, okay, too weird. Okay, I love this. Way too weird. And I'm a Pisces. I'm really sensitive. I'd already seen a ghost when my maid died. I'd seen an angel when my grandmother died later on. I had seen spirit animals in Boulder when I used to run all the time because I've been always very connected to nature and Mother Nature for a long time. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so fast forward to 15 years ago, and I started going to more astrologers. I never had an aggression until the last few years, but I was doing past life work, and I found out that I was at Atlantis as a woman doctor using healing crystals, et cetera. And then I was an architect who was murdered at the pyramids in Egypt in that lifetime. And I found out that I had, about 70 or 80 lifetimes as healers as I kept doing my own little private research on and on and on and on. So I found, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so how did you meet up with Barbara Lamb to do that book? And I also wanted to comment, I love that one of your ETs on that is blue, because we've talked about this, Mary, where I have these kind of just these, I don't know, these memories that are in lucid dreaming kind of thing. They're there, they're almost tangible. They've always sort of been there, and I could always see these blue ET beings. And so she put a blue one. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Right, I'd be happy to. I was just about to say, so I'll go back for a second. Oh, here we go. So I had always wanted to go to a conference, and I live in San Francisco, but I knew the good ones were down in LA. So I went to Conscious Life Expo about right before COVID, maybe it was 4 or 5 years ago. And I was on a mission. I told my friends and clients I was going away for 4 days to a real estate conference just because I didn't want to say I was going to a Starseed conference because that's recent doing this. And by the way, I totally agree with you. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. A lot of my memories, too, are like lucid dreams.
Yeah.
It's fragments of the past because you can't remember all those things that we've done. And the craft visit, I remember the lights, I remember the interiors, I remember the beings, but it was like a blink, and then you blink out. But anyway, so I went to Conscious Life Expo, and by now I was excited about on a mission to do a book, and I had to find somebody. I wanted to find somebody that could help teach me and validate me, and also have a good time writing a book. And I knew I wanted to be the illustrator, even though I've never illustrated ETs before.
I love it.
Wonderful.
All over the world, but I don't do people. But anyway, so I put me on and these are the couple of the beings that I saw on the craft with me that first time at age 5. So I was literally doing my little man on the street interviewing, and I met Linda Moulton Scott Howell. I met Barbara Lamb. I met a series of different people. I was fascinated. I was sort of hiding in the back, and by the end of the first day, I was in the front row and going up and saying, I've had these experiences. I want to do a book. Would anybody be interested? So out of all the people that I talked about 8 or 10 people. But I was so drawn to Barbara's talk, and I'd seen her already on Gaia. I already knew about her. Mm-hmm. And I said, can I come down and do a regression with you in San Diego? And can I fly down for the weekend, and I'll stay nearby, and we'll do 2 regressions 2 days in a row. Well, Friday I flew down. We had dinner till midnight. I'd taken a couple other books that I had already worked on to show her the proof that I could actually do it. I haven't published these, but I did a coloring book called I'm a Space Explorer, a coloring book that I did for a preschool here with a friend of mine that runs a preschool where my kids went. So I started with this, and I was like always wanting to be, out in space.
Oh, that's neat.
And then I had done this book, I Am the Universe. There's me again. Art engagement book for the adventuresome. So I showed these to her. I love cats. I love animals. So I'd done this, take me to the stars with you. Me too. I'm at 0G.
Oh, I love that. You need to publish those, Mary.
I will. And then when I went to Machu Picchu, my one time ever doing ayahuasca, I took a little bit of it with Kenny Loggins and some people. I drew this in the night, and then I started drawing more and more things. That was my first and only time. I don't need to do it again. It was really fun. I got high on life as it is. So this was another book that I did with, I wanted kids to be able to swim in the infinite ocean of the universe. And then Gaia, Mother Earth, I love you. I will miss you. I will always remember you. I don't know. I knew that we'd be leaving here maybe someday. And then I started doing more art. I'm a shining star. I am limitless. So I took these to Barbara at dinner, and I said, you know what? I want to inspire kids like I was as a child with Explore, Dream, Discover, with telling them about the universe, Big Bang, this blah, 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 with coloring pages and certificates. I didn't know what I was doing. I've been working on huge projects and design and graphics. We did the Star Trek logo, as I said. But I wanted to go through and inspire kids like I was with my dad, my rocket scientist dad, when we'd sit outside at night and look at the stars, and he'd point out different stars. And I just wanted to allow kids to see the possibility. And I always wanted to be an astronaut. So there's me.
Can we talk about that right now? That letter you sent to the...
Oh, yeah.
Let's bring that up. I think that's fascinating.
Anyway, I did those 2 things. And by by 11:30 that night, she said, I'd love to do a book with you. And I said, well, can we use maybe 18 or 20 year regressions? And then I'll do the art. And I just called her every day and drove her crazy for about 9 months a year and a half ago. And then I said, I know you're really busy. And I'd never done a book. I didn't know what I was doing at all, but I never do. We never do, right? We just dive in, follow our passion. And we got it published, and it's been really helpful, evidently, to people. So
yeah, it's a fabulous book.
Thanks.
Mary, what I think is interesting about the book, a couple things. You do mention at the beginning of it how these people that you've had a chance to meet are really interested in us, and how we could learn a lot from them. And I'm wondering, how could I learn from them? And they're choosing you. I mean, if there's these wonderful beings out there, I would love to talk to them. And your book puts this positive spin on all these experiences. And that's why it's so awesome for children and for adults, because it kind of looks at the other side and frames it in a very loving and positive way, this experience where it's not as frightening. And I wonder if you can talk about that.
Oh, sure. Well, even I wrote in the beginning, I said, "Dear reader, when we became moms, we learned the value of reading together with our children and encouraged them to keep an open mind. We dedicate this book to all children and grandchildren," Barbara's grandchildren, I don't yet, "who are the pioneers of the future. We hope to inspire young minds to the magic of the universe and to other possibilities of otherworldly surprises. It's up to future space explorers to discover new information about the universe." And then on the back page, I wrote, and to answer your question, and I really wanted to make it positive. It creeped me out for many years about how scary I was on the craft. I came back and I started painting rocks and stuff, which I'll get to in a minute. But I just thought in order for people to buy a book and in order to educate kids like me, I was freaked out. Nobody talked to me. I said to Barbara, the whole purpose of this book, if you will do it this way, has got to be positive. Make it fun with color, with art, with simple drawings. I said, I don't really know how to draw ETs, but I don't care. This is not about that. This is about the story of creating friendship and learning between human kids and ETs. So on the back, I wrote, "The book is based on real accounts with extraterrestrial beings of various kinds, as reported by children and adults who have had these experiences. We hope that our stories will inspire you to believe in possibilities and friendships that will come in many shapes, colors, and styles. Both authors are experiencers themselves and are aware that many people who have been abducted report negative encounters, yet many share more positive events. We are committed to supporting the well-being of humanity and Earth and fostering good relations with other beings in space." So that was the most important thing that I wrote for this book, is to help inspire this dialogue that can go on between kids and adults, to trigger memories that they may have. I don't know how I remember some of these things. I've been off planet. I'm still putting all the pieces together of this puzzle, just like what you just said a minute ago, Katie. But I know they're real. You can't make this stuff up. Why would you? I had a great career doing what I love, but this is something that's been the most important thing. And because I taught 6 to 12-year-olds when I first moved to Boulder when I was age 19 in 1969, I started teaching 6 to 12-year-olds, and I taught suicidals. Then I taught art therapy on the side because I wasn't sure if I wanted to get into pure interior design or pure art or art therapy. And I'm so sensitive that I couldn't really know I could do that all day, every day. But I always have been working on the side to be positive for people and not be negative. I'm a positive person. I don't think we've all had our terrible experiences. Nobody was unscathed by some kind of abuse, some kind of negativity. We want fear to turn into freedom and love. We don't want to fear down. We don't want, I have PSTD. I grew up with dyslexia, ADHD. I have processing issues. My mom could write forehand and backwards, upside down and backwards. I can't even say it right. Wow. And I grew up different. I was born different. And I didn't speak. The first sentence was, I want to go to the beach or I want to go look at the stars. Because I was so hypersensitive. All the clairs, like a lot of us do, I was so hypersensitive to sound and light, noise and negativity. I was bullied in school. My tutors, my parents accidentally got me in on the 50s. Women didn't count, kids didn't count, just, go to and they made me write every day after school from kindergarten to 8th grade, good, better, best. Never rest till the good is better and the better best. And not until an art teacher at boarding school in Wisconsin said, "Mary, you're really creative. You're really good at art. Why did those people tell you that?" And I said, "Well, I know my parents are good people. They didn't know any better. But I just said I felt stupid and weird and I can't write. I write right forwards and backwards. My son got my learning issues. My daughter didn't. So I've seen what it's like with my 2 children to see what it's like to have learning issues and sensitivities and not. Anyway, so I like positive. I do everything positive. I don't like negative anything or anybody. And I think
I love that.
Positivity is the way to teach kids, and they are the pioneers of the future. And I grew up with pioneer families. So part of my mission here on this planet at this life was to take what I thought was a negative thing in the beginning, and all I've learned my whole life since then was over the years that the ETs are my friends. I mean, and they love that I've done this book. I've heard them say hundreds of times, "Thank you for doing this. Thank you, so much, Mary."
Have they read it, Mary?
Pardon me?
Have they read it?
Have they
read the book?
Well, yeah, they've watched me. They watch me do everything. Like they watch us do everything.
No, I mean, when you said they loved the book, I was like, wow. I mean,
yeah, they
amazing.
have it, and they like it because it's positive and it tells positive stories of how they teach us, from green goo to to all these different things that they learn. The kids learn how to craft, and I mean, they've helped guide me and nurture me. I might not be here if I hadn't had the support of them my whole life.
And healing.
Healing. All about healing. It's all about healing. And that's what I've learned in all my lifetimes, is that I have a thread of healing in design. And it's different than how most people heal. I don't have a master's I have a degree, a couple degrees in design and architecture stuff, but not in regression therapy or in any of that world. But I've gone through the back door my whole life as an intuitive healer to make spaces work for people to do. I mean, I've done not many things. I just know I've been led my whole life to make people feel better like me. I was wanting to make me get out of depression and feel stupid and wrong and backwards and alone and isolated and confined. When I got hired at NASA, they said, "Do you know anything about isolation and confinement?" And I said, "Dr. Von Clear, what are you?" I have no clue.
Right. True.
No clue. I've been alone my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Until I started doing this the last couple of years and meeting Katie, you, and now I have Tara and Chris. I mean, I have a tribe now. And my dad's even said that to me recently. He said, "I'm so glad you finally have your tribe."
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, before we go to break, I got to ask you, I got a ton of questions for her, but when I looked at the cover of your book and I went, that's something I've never really seen before. I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it. Is a gray in a robe. Did you actually experience a gray in a robe, or is that just an artistic design that you didn't want to naked? Because you got one gray that has no clothes on, but you got this other, I don't know if it's a gray or some other species.
That's an Arcturian on the right. I had a couple of Arcturians on my craft. Yeah, okay. I did not see the Arcturian in a robe, but for the cover, I did want to put somebody in clothing, so I wasn't standing between two beings, because I thought, I'm a mom, my mind would be going, I'm holding hands with these guys. I'm really sensitive. And Barbara, when we were going through the regressions, I said, when I was drawing all these, we talked a lot about it. I said, what are some of your clients? And Barbara's done 4,000 regressions now, and half of them were with this. I said, what kind of clothes did they have on? And she said, oh, different, through her regressions. She didn't see them, but her clients did. Oh, different robes, different colors. So I just said, well, artist license, then
cool.
You tell me if you like it, and if it's weird, then I'll change it. So that's how.
Can you go back to that last page that had the star map on the wall? I think it was a page. Okay, so you have constellations up there. I was just wondering if Orion's on there, and it looks like it might be. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I love the fact that you actually, talked to Barbara about all these different people she's worked with and incorporated that into the book. It's just phenomenal. And I really encourage anybody out there. You can still get it on Amazon. Is that right?
Yes. Real Adventures with each, and I think they're, I don't remember, $15 or something. Then we did a hardback, and then I put it in Kindle. And we've sold more Kindle in Japan. Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting. We've sold a lot of them, but mostly it's getting emails. And Barbara and I were talking to somebody last week. We've done tons of interviews about it, coming out now, to talking about this positive thing that has been one of the most wonderful things I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's
how did you get so inspired by this, Mary? I mean, this is really fantastic, and I love the idea this is a children thing. But how did you get inspired? I mean,
and we only have 2 minutes till break, so
I got inspired because I felt alone and stupid and crazy my whole life. And I thought, if I don't do a book, and I'd never done a book, I'd done books for my little kids because I've always drawn. I just wanted to help other kids. I'm here to help like you all are. We're all here to do the same thing. I just happened to pick this because I was that girl feeling completely nutso crazy until like 3 months ago. And I started talking to Dad up in heaven and said, I am so mad at you. I've been mad at you for 71 years. Why didn't you tell me? And he said, I couldn't. I was told to keep my trap shut or we'd be gone.
Yeah.
So that's what inspired me to help other people like me that felt crazy or scared to say it to their parents.
Yeah. And I think on the other side of the break, I would like to touch more and get more into this thing I hear often through abductees and contactees, where it starts out as a very fearful event. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of find through life that it turns into a very positive, supportive event. And I find that an interesting topic. And I'm wondering, why you think that might be happening. I guess when we're little, we just don't recognize what's happening to us. So of course it's going to be fearful and scary. So on the other side of the break, let's get into that. And really quickly, before we go to break, I want to remind people again about your website and where you can find it. Your first website is maryedwardsdesign.com. And it's fabulous.
Oh, thank you. That has where you can get real adventures. If you just put in kids adventures with ET friends in space, it'll come up, but it's also on my website and it's on Barbara's website too.
Right. And then you have your consciousness website. So the consciousawakeningnetwork.org. So you can find more information about Mary there. And hang on, we will be back with Mary right after the break.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
MUFON is the voice of thousands of like-minded people who want to see change. We speak up against UFO secrecy. We engage governments and agencies around the world on the topic. We share information with the public through our journal, website, newsletter, social media, and even our own TV channel. When you join MUFON, you add your voice to the cause. Few things are more important in our time than understanding the UFO question. Join MUFON. Find your friends.
Are you looking to go on a faraway journey that is magical and mysterious, reaping on mystical legends? If so, then Mysterious Adventure Tours is perfect for you. Imagine a voyage to explore ancient mysteries of Ireland, haunted majesties of Scotland, or their chilling Birth of the Vampires in Romania. These small, esoteric getaways are limited and do fill fast. So, go to MysteriousAdventureTours.com and book your trip soon.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Okay, we're back. Uh-oh. This looks like Jerry and Jenna are looking for Chris. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? They're going. He's missing in action. Abduction and process. Abduction and process. We have an abduction and process.
But don't worry, it's a positive thing that's happening. So
it is. Well, yeah. Welcome back, Mary. So let's talk a little bit about how this was fearful for you as a child, and how and when it kind of turned for you, and what you think about that.
Right. I think just to go backwards for a little bit, when we're kids, we grow up with our parents talking to us. We learn criticism. We learn about religion and culture at the dining room table. You know, we go to school, we learn things, but we come home. And until we have can put some pieces of the puzzle together the way we're really treated, what the experiences were, till we get a little bit older and go, oh, wow. You know, you go to your friend's house and maybe somebody was hit there, or somebody was bullied, or, you know, or you go to school, or whatever the situation is. I always knew that I was safe when I was born, but I also knew I was really different. And again, like you and I were talking about a minute ago, Katie, sometimes we don't know how we know things, but I knew in the womb, I literally, and I've only said this to people, that I knew it was going to be hard, but cool. And I knew I was going to be loved somewhere, but I didn't know if it was going to be my mom or my dad or who. I felt really wiggly. So I always have had, you know, we all have different clairvoyances. We all have different sensitivities. I've always been able to read people pretty well, and people that were in pain, and except for myself, I didn't know about, I always thought it was other people. Oh, you want your house to get fixed? You want your hospital to get fixed? And then over time, I just kept knowing that I was here to really help people. But anyway, so when I was young and I didn't want to talk, we grew up in a pretty big house that was really cool, with a big backyard and a ravine next to it, with deer and squirrels and chipmunks outside Chicago. We were on Lake Michigan in our backyard. So I felt the safest place of my life was down at the beach and watching the waves. I'd come home from after school with my clothes on and jump in the water, and I felt like, even I didn't know about, I mean, I went to Holy Comforter, you know, Episcopalian church when I was young, but then I'd jump on my bike and drive down to the Baha'i Temple on my bicycle, going, why does this feel better? My parents question that all the time. So I knew that I was always so sensitive with the negativity, with feeling bad, feeling so much, that I really spent my life from when I came out, after I had when I was taken, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. After the few years, my parents I didn't know, as I said, till this year, that they couldn't talk to me because of they were not allowed to. They were sworn to secrecy. But I also knew that I was being helped. I also said to them, well, first of all, I had a lot of lost time. I said to my parents, once a day, twice a day, few times a week, everybody's looking at me. I knew we were being watched.
Interesting.
Watching me. And neither of my sisters had any of those emotions. They're both smart, nice girls. They're around my age and they're great, but they didn't have those sensitivities. And I had this unique bond with my father that was different. My mom was an artist and very creative, very stylish, really fun. Both my parents were very inspirational. And that's why, as to Chris's question earlier, I was inspired by my parents and my family almost indirectly. They didn't really talk to me about a lot of things, like the ETs and the spacecraft, and why this one babysitter used to say, that when she'd come to visit and stay with us, we have a couple live-in maids at the time, but they always got a special babysitter from Des Plaines, Illinois, named Miss Crawl, who'd say, let's go sleep on the patio tonight, Mary. Maybe we'll get a UFO go through our legs or something. And I was like, are you kidding? This is like the coolest thing I've ever heard. She was the only one that sort of talked to me about it. She didn't really talk to me, but she was around, and she was sort of planted there, I think, for me to have somebody to like just hang out with once in a while. Anyway, but also my parents, my mom's dad was an architect, and he had a design build company with his father. They had a lumber company. And I loved watching him. He inspired me to just want to be involved with architecture. He standardized the 2x4 because he hated the waste of wood. Even back Frank Lloyd Wright was in our town, and my birthday parties were there. So I got a lot of inspiration sort of just by osmosis, and with my family growing up. My dad designed rockets. He did re-entry systems. He did nose cones of rocket ships. We'd see, Sputnik and, things come back. He'd talk about the Russians, yell about the Russians at the dining room table. He and I'd sit at one end of the table. My mom and my sisters and the maids would sit at the other end of the table. And I would hear Dad, and I would say, well, what's wrong with the Russians? I was like 10 years old. Anyway, so I grew up with the first space race, really, since I was born all the way through. But I knew I was protected, and I knew Dad protected me. I knew somehow, even though he wouldn't talk to me about things. So then we went to Stonehenge when I was 10. We started traveling the world. We went to Europe. We went to South America. We went to China. We went to India. We went to all these different places.
Wow.
On educational trips. And I say, God, this is so cool. We're spending a month in the Serengeti. 1978. It was me and my parents. My sisters didn't want to go. And we went to China first, 1970, up the South China Sea for a month. And I said, I want to go to bee sting therapy clinics. I want to go to hospitals. I want to, and Mom wanted to go to the museums. Of course, I did too, because we always went to museums where we went. But I got interested in a lot of things because my parents exposed me to a lot of positive things, but we never talked about them. We just went there. But the ETs, I sort of always knew that we had one African-American maid from the south side of Chicago who was Sophie, who was like my mom, and she was really close. And she'd say, Mary Edwards, you can't bring that Black child home that moved into Kenilworth, Illinois, or your parents will never speak to you. Better not invite her over. I said, well, no, but she's really nice. Nobody's talking to her. So anyway, this sort of went on and on my whole life about just wanting to help other people. But the inspiration started with me too, teaching art to kids 6 to 12-year-olds. I had a mean tutor. He didn't mean to be mean, but I wanted to change that. I somehow knew I could sort of fix things a little bit if I took a different approach. And my mom was eternally positive. My dad was a really smart rocket scientist who studied under Einstein at Princeton. Our neighbor was a senator, Percy. We had, big, interesting entrepreneurs and smart people around that we were around growing up. But I wanted to sit and paint rocks and sort of be alone. But I always listened, and I always asked a lot of questions. How did you start Wrigley's? What was with the twins? Why was the branding so good? I was always curious. And my sister's a designer in New York City, and she's curious and smart and likes to do some of the product things that I do. But none of anybody else in my family got the ET connection or the wiring, like my dad said again and again. Up until today, he said, you just got the wiring. So anyway, it was about positivity and inspiration as kindness and loving kindness, really, to grow and learn and to feel better about ourselves. I've always wanted to make myself feel better because I always felt stupid and weird. And why could I? And they'd say, you can get, can't read, but you can draw this picture of a spaceship in 5 seconds. And I said, well, I don't know, you're my teacher. What can I learn here? Mm-hmm. That's why I just kept going to school. I've gone to school and school and school. I'm taking a class right now. I always take classes to learn. But I think it's how we look at either half full or half empty. And that's why this is the perfect time to be born on this planet, because we're all here to lift people up. And my interiors I call space lifts. I've been going and doing space lifts for 30 or 40 years for people to just go in and rearrange sort of the energy and make people feel better in their homes.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I kind of on this space thing, I'm curious about your dad. I mean, he's had some experiences with the rocket systems, and I'm wondering if you can talk about some of the neat things he was exposed to that indirectly you were as well.
Right. Well, he went to Choate and Princeton and Northwestern for electrical engineering. So he was, his father and grandfather had started this company called Cook Electric, and Dad was the youngest of 3 boys. So they were all groomed they all went to the same schools. They went to Princeton, Northwestern, and to go work at Cook Electric. And Dad started while he was at Princeton, World War II started, and he enlisted in the Navy, went up to the Aleutians, became a lieutenant, was a pilot. And evidently, I don't know all the details about this, but he went Einstein at Princeton, Oppenheimer at the University of Chicago, doing some meteorology stuff before Chicago, where he went to the Aleutians. And then I heard through one uncle that's now, both of the uncles are dead now. They're all almost all my relatives are dead now, or gone, or they're right here. Nobody talked about any of this, but one uncle, my cousin's husband, said that when Dad went to the Aleutians, he started some top secret stuff back then.
Interesting.
And so when he went back to Princeton to finish up before he went to Northwestern, which is also was in Chicago, obviously, or is near where we grew up, he furthered his relationship with Einstein. And then I heard through my sister once and through one cousin once that he worked on the Manhattan Project. So I've been doing research. So he went so his father started the company that morphed into doing, they were doing a lot of telecommunications in the beginning. They were doing nose cones of rocket ships, the reentry systems, nose cones, rocket ships, the parachutes. They were doing testing. Dad's my whole childhood. I don't remember most of my childhood from, I don't know if it's partly trauma. I was told I was in my lab and a robotic program and a couple of the programs I don't know anything about, and I don't really want to, but I think those programs went away in the 90s mostly. My PSTD didn't, but it's almost gone, I think, I hope. It's just gone. Let's just say it's gone. I'm sick of it.
Goodbye, PTSD.
In the beginning.
If it were that easy.
Over. So sick of old stories. Anyway, so Dad was groomed to, and he was super smart, so he and Einstein, he brought it up a few times at the dinner table. You don't talk about things like that. It sounds braggy, and I'm sure I'm mortified right now. And Dad said it's okay if I talk about it now, because he said it's time now for you to have a tribe and talk about these things. But anyway, so he was head of research and development. He went to work every day. They had a bunch of different programs. I just found out, I only thought they had one company in Morton Grove, Illinois, where they designed and manufactured heavy rocketry. I knew he always said he was going to White Sands. I always knew he said he's going down to the desert. All the 50s, all the 60s, all the 70s. He missed my graduation from high school at boarding school in Wisconsin because he was gone. It was 1969. Duh. When
it was going on then.
So, we don't learn until we get older and we can track history. So I said to Dad, what was going on with all this? So anyway, I've been learning, but he's told me, I said, just in the last few months, these talks that I've had with him, I said, how did your dad take you on a craft when you were 5? And he said, yes. And I said, oh my God. I said, did his dad take his, And he said, yes. I said, have you always been supported by ETs as well? I'm about to start crying because this is literally fresh the last few months. I mean, my life was like paranoid and afraid and freaked out because I was like cuckoo clock, with these things. And he said, I had to keep my trap shut my whole life. And I said, how hard was that for you? And he said, really hard, but I had duty. I was in the Navy. And I was swore an oath to the Navy, to the government, to NASA. I was never, he said, I said, you started on the labor line. Yikes, talk about pressure. I said, were you terrified every day? And he said, yep, pretty much. He said, but I knew that I was made for that role. And he really was more than the other brothers. who did a lot of work with President Truman's 4-point program. They worked at Cook. They did things with Woodruff and Edwards that made propellers and iron and different things throughout for the government and stuff over the years. That's how they got out of going to the war. Because President Truman, they got an Army, Navy thingy that I'm just starting to research now.
Wow.
It didn't allow them to because of my family's involvement in the government and NASA. And so anyway, then I asked Dad if he had been to Area 51 a few weeks ago. I told him.
Oh.
Yes. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, he didn't say yeah. He said yes. So 5 times, that's me talking, went here, and he was giving sort of the story of when he went the first time in 1951, which is either the next slide or the slide before. That's the other times he was talking about. Or maybe it's the next one. No, okay. I guess we don't have it. You can go back to the other one. Sorry. Anyway, so he went. He was there one full day with Wernher von Braun to there, and I said, "There it is. Thank you." And I wrote it down wrong. This is all his words, and it's really December 19th, 1951. And he said they went for a whole day. And I said, what was that like? Well, I'll just read it to you. To discuss technical electronic classified information. Dad said von Braun was obviously a great communicator. He's very low-key, very organized on layout, discussed handling extreme temperature strengths, the materials that they were looking at as they were testing for X-rays and crystalline components. He was 32 years old then and felt that he was being tested to see if he could be trusted not to tell anyone. And he didn't until now. And he said it's okay if he does because he's up doing other things. They're still contacting him for information. He said he talks to a lot of these guys all the time anyway. Wow. So he couldn't, but I can. So anyway, they had several samples in their hands that I mentioned down here somewhere. He said that the compound steel that they had, the few samples they had that day were really strong steel that, the strength of steel we use today, withstand temperatures of 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. The craft they discussed was about 20 feet wide by 10 feet tall. That's not a real picture. I got that off the internet. Obviously, that's not, he didn't take any pictures back then. He wouldn't be allowed to, and he wasn't there probably for whatever that was. But he said he saw a few samples. They traveled there with 5 scientists, other Air Force brass, and several other smart university professors. I said, was Dr. Hynek there? He said, no, I don't remember. They didn't tell us most of their names. He said, we didn't ask questions. We went there for a day. We looked at the samples. They kept saying, what is this? What is this? What is this? How do we replace this? How do we reproduce this? Wow. Then he went back 5 more times in 52 or whatever those dates were, but only once with that one time with Wernher von Braun. And he said it was just thrilling. I mean, he said it was unbelievable, very hush-hush, very top secret. I said, what was it like? How weird was it back then? And he said, he said it was pretty big. They'd walk, go down long stairs and very hush-hush and dark, weird environments. And you weren't allowed to ask questions or really talk about anything. But he said was really great. And then he said he worked with them all through part of the 50s and some of the 60s on different parts of components of, from not only rockets and reentry systems, but a lot of other components and products that they were doing with everybody. So, I mean, I saw, yeah.
Mary, I want to jump in here for a second because you brought it up with your father. I'm just absolutely amazed. I got to be honest with you. I haven't heard until your father until earlier today when I started researching him. And, this is just amazing stuff. I want to talk about your work, though, with NASA. You started doing some work with NASA. What work did you do? You had some work with the International Space Station and some of the other things. Let's talk about your accomplishments with this space program.
Well, mine were tiddly. I mean, mine. I had a few wonderful years. I was a contractor out of Moffett Field. I got hired by Dr. Von Clearwater to work on the first habitability and human factors department out of Moffett Field that's still about 50 minutes from where I live here now. I was working on an interior for Boeing downtown San Francisco, and my son's friend and friends of ours that I was working in their office, he happened to be vice president of Boeing at the time, and I happen to know Susie Boeing. But anyway, he said, there's a conference this weekend. Do you want to go? One of our people's sick, and you're a designer, and you're our designer here today, and would you like to go? And this was like on a Wednesday or Thursday, and they said, oh, it's at Moscone, and they're going to be a lot of architects and interior designers. Do you want to go? And I said, I'd love to. Anyway, so Dr. Von Clearwater was the last speaker of the day. And she said, any of you interior designers, architects in the audience who'd like to work on NASA? Well, I think I ran. No, I mean, I ran marathons. I walked as fast as I could with looking like I wasn't running. And I handed her my card and I said, I grew up with top secret stuff. You said you have to be working for a university or a college. I've been teaching at the Academy of Art College at night for 5 years on color and design and textiles and stuff. I said, I grew up with this. I said, I quit architecture school. I was only my second year architecture school at the time. And I quit when I got hired a few months later. So she hired me and all these people, which was unbelievable. And we worked together out of Moffett Field. We built a team. She was in charge. She was a double PhD. They got brought from Bechtel. She was just unbelievable, smart, funny, badass, workaholic. I got carpal tunnel syndrome from her. And it was basically, she and I were the only women, and there were 23 or 24 other men. Mark Cohen was the main architect. I came in as a designer because that's what my degree was in, and that's what I'm not an AIA. I never got my degree because I was thrilled to quit then and just go work for NASA for those years. Anyway, so we built a team. We were looking at all the smart choices, effective solutions. We were basically de-stressing astronauts in space and trying to make it a more multi-sensory interior that was functional, cross-cultural, and personal. And NASA bought 500 of my photographs. I said, can we do a movable art show on the wall? It's static and dead in here.
Love it.
Don and I said, let's bring in earth ground orientation people. Richard Haynes, Dick Haynes, came and worked with us while he was doing his first books back in the day before he couldn't work there anymore. But we had the most incredible team. I mean, when you think of a floating mobile home park, mobile home, for an hour and a half every day till night. And I was already hypersensitive with space, and I'd already been there. I didn't ever tell anybody that, but I said, we've got to put window treatments in, not, shutters, but we have to create an earth environment with groundedness and windows and interest and cultural, and people were still eating out of tubes. And I said, we interviewed, it was the first international space in ESA. It was ESA, the Japanese. We talked about body envelopes. I got to design the first sleep restraints because floating around in 0G attached to a piece of Velcro with Velcro floating all over the air. You choked on it. It was, uncomfortable. And so I said, can we bring in different colors and honor the different cultures that are there? And, a lot of the guys were saying, but we worked it. And I said, I want to bring in color like blue, like the drawing that I just showed you, that one that was right there. And I said, can we do exercise room? Obviously 0G takes a big toll on astronauts. We all know that. You shrink in space a couple inches, your calcium's all screwed up. You're eating this gross food, and you're stressed out. You cannot escape. And so I said, could we at least do a mural, some kind of sustainable, functional, commercial mural that looked like pine trees? And then I had the guts to say one time at a meeting, maybe we could do a scratch and sniff so they could smell pine trees. Well, that, well, the guys was like, okay, I got that rejected, but we did.
I like that idea. That's great idea.
I thought so too.
Wet dog, scratch and sniff.
Comforts of home.
No different thing. I mean, the multi-sensory, right? Woo-hoo,
right.
Multi-sensory sitting here, duh. So, and then when we got, and it was Sex and Space Talks and Psychology Today. I mean, I was always there with Yvonne, but she was the doc. I was just the design person behind her. And we were actually an incredible team. I said, you have to come up with all the systems. She said, well, you come up with all the ideas. And I said, well, the next idea, we have to build a full-size mock-up at Johnson Space Center. Give us a year, give us $100,000. And this was, in the early 90s or whenever it was. And I said, we've got to fly down there and we can come up. We want to test pupillary dilation and heartbeat and some of the physical attributes we could do with 5 different settings. I mean, not Laura Ashley, Ralph Lauren ones, but real ones that could test several thousand people in it over a year. And we got it. And because my dad said a couple of times, why did they hire you? And I said, well, Dad, you sent the monkeys up and they all died. And we're sending. Well, I mean, like back at you. It was the first time I ever said it. I love you, Dad. But it was the first time I was like, come on, you wouldn't let me go to Princeton when they were taking girls in 1969. I made it here anyway on my own with my, my create background.
Yeah, I'm curious. What did your father really think about you working for NASA? I mean, it sounded like he wanted to protect you.
Well,
from
he
this
did.
type of
He does
environment.
now, but see, I never talked to him about it back then. He was busy. He was gone 6 months out of every year. I never saw him. And I'd say, I just applied to get to Boulder for a BFA. And he said, great, but what are you going to do with that? And I said, well, I'll teach. He said, well, we have teachers in our family. And I said, well, my brain's weird. I didn't know I had dyslexia and all that other stuff back then. They didn't test for us then. And I said, it's just because I'm a woman, isn't it? This is 1969. I mean, that was like, I'm not taking this anymore. And, and he said, well, no, your mom wants you to go to Pine Manor in Boston. I said, well, I don't want to go there. I want to go to Princeton. I want to go get what you did. And I did. And I said, okay, well, then I'm going to somehow make it to NASA at some point on my own. And at age 9, I wrote NASA anyway to be the first woman astronaut.
Yeah, can we show that? Yeah, there it is. Look at her. Look at her staring.
My mom never took pictures. Of course, my shoes untied in my little cat house. And that was one of my first spacesuits that I had my grandmother who made all my clothes. I said, I want to see the belt because I only do horns. I don't do florals and stuff. I only wanted black and white. And I used to cut my own bangs, as you can probably tell.
I did that.
So I asked Dad last month, I said, you must have given me the Huntsville. Look at the George C. Marshall. Look at the logo for NASA. This is 1960. I was born in 51, so I was 9 years old. And this picture, as I said, is 9. My mom never took pictures. We were on the cover of magazines and newspapers and stuff. But it was like I had 3 pictures of me, and one happened to be when I was 6. So I said, did you give me the address? I said, and he said, yes. And I burst out laughing, and then he started laughing. And I said, they must have cracked up. They knew who you were, that your daughter thought she could actually apply to NASA as a woman. And I said, I bet that cracked them up more than anything. So we got a good chuckle out of that recently. And so anyway,
that's great.
And that was other proof other than that these rocks that I painted when I came home from my first trip of craft.
So that's from your childhood, that rock right there? Hold that back.
Yeah, this is from, I was born in 51 and I was 5 years old. So this is from 1956. And somehow, if the paint's still there, this was house paint that I was not allowed to put inside the house because we had a pretty perfect house. So I painted probably 100 rocks. That's all I wanted to do was be down on the beach and paint rocks when Mom was having parties at the club and
at the club.
And then I painted these on wood.
Oh,
to my mom's. There's just some things I found in the garage. Monet. I mean, it was like, and these were, I showed them to Dad the last couple of months, and I said, were these planets? What was I? And he said, no, Mary, those were craft that we saw when we were going up on craft. I said, I mean, this is a craft? And he said, yeah. And I said, how big is it? And he said, well, that was one of the ones we went up on. It was 320 feet. It was round. The colors would change energy, and they would hold up to 2 to 13 people. So I thought for 71 years that I was painting orbs and I've never seen an orb. I just thought I was seeing, I mean, I remember 5 and 6 and 10, and I've had some other experience. I've seen angels and ghosts and spirit animals and stuff, but I've never seen an orb, and I didn't know what they were. And he just told me recently that those are craft.
That brings up an interesting topic, talking about seeing ghosts, angels, spirit guides, and that. Do you think that is connected to the contact experience and UFOs? Do you think those are all connected phenomena?
I think, our friend Ray Hernandez that I've had on the show a few times, I met him at Conscious Life and down in where we were where we were hanging out too. Laughlin.
We met in San Francisco.
Oh, that's right. We did meet him.
Oh, and Laughlin. You're right. Both.
And Ray was there. Ray came up and said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, nobody. Who are you?" Like we were just connected. We talk all the time. I'm really good friends. And he was the one that started telling me. I knew that it was weird that I'd seen a ghost, and that my grandmother, who was also, she said on her deathbed to me like 30 years ago. I said, "Ghani, she's the Sherman of Sherman Oaks," and she was unbelievable, creative. Very private like me, even though I sound blabby, I'm really sort of a hermit and I just like projects. I'm a project person. All the rest, and I play tennis and hike and do stuff outdoors. But other than that, I don't really socialize much. She said on her deathbed, she said, "Mary, we're different." And I said, "What are you saying, Ghani?" Her nickname was Ghani, Elizabeth Sherman, Latin, Reinheimer. And she said, "We're different than them. Don't expect your mom to ever understand you." Mom and her Ghani's maid were in the other room having a glass of wine. I said, "Mom, get in here. This is really interesting." And I said, "I think we're having a really cool conversation." She said, "I'll be in after I finish my wine." Well, 5 minutes later, Ghani looked at me again and she said, "You're amazing just the way you are." And nobody ever said that or validated it. And bing, her eyes closed. I was at the foot of her bed in this beautiful room with beautiful art. And she was in a top penthouse condominium with Lake Michigan after my grandfather died, the lumber guy. It was all water below me. And see my window back here? She had a big window like that. And it was right behind the bed. Her whole bed was beautiful wood that my grandfather designed with moon rock and just these gems. It was like insane. Wow. Not tacky, beautiful. And I saw an angel about 30 feet wide that was floating up there behind. It was her right as she passed. Wow. And then at the minute Mom walked in, it was only there maybe 30 seconds, a couple minutes later, it was gone. But I think it's all connected. Then I almost drowned in Mexico when I was 18. I remember having a couple little things and almost died another time in a car wreck. I've always just felt like everything around me was alive. I always have hiked a lot. My parents, my dad and I, we had sailboats, we had motorboats, we had a dock, our summer house was in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Right. We used to go. And my whole life has been outdoors, and I always felt the same vibration. Literally, I always was in sync with Mother Nature. Mm-hmm. I've always, in 30 or 40 or 50 years, I always said when I used to have shows and stuff, and I'd say, I bring the outdoors indoors to create light and energy and beauty. And that's why I like neutral interiors. Like here, I want the art to pop out. I want the nature to pop out. I want the people to pop out. And I've done thousands of interiors, and from hotels to restaurants, as I said, everything. And it's always about creating a safe space that's attractive, that allows the personality and what the function of is it for entertaining? Are they readers? Are they doctors? I've done a lot of tech billionaires. I've done homelessness and vets. I've done every interior, but it's always about creating a sense of place and peace and beauty.
Well, let me ask you about that, about your creativity, Mary, because, my work with Phoenix MUFON as a field investigator, and I'm an artist as well, and I'm also a Pisces. And so, we have a lot in common.
March 11th.
And February 22nd. So isn't that funny? So, and I'm very sensitive as well, and I'm trying to negotiate this. And I carry a sketchbook with me everywhere I go, and I jot my thoughts, sketches, anything down. I'm wondering if you keep sketchbooks and if you let people look at them. And also, and how do you
right here?
Oh, I just
wait for a second and grab a couple.
Sounds great. And you probably can still hear me, but I'm curious as an artist and all these experiences as a sensitive person, how you found your voice or how you have that confidence to just be yourself, how did that come back to you? So
I always had the confidence with my art. Once my art teacher in high school said, "Oh, you have talent," when I was 14, I said, I do. It's like, right. I said, I can create dogs. And so she said, "I think you should have a show." And I said, "I can't have a show. I'm not good enough." And I said, "Well, She said, "You want to do it in a couple months?" I said, "No, how about next year?" Because I've always had such an insecurity problem because good, better, best. I mean, I was SRA. I couldn't even do SRA. Remember that from the 50s?
Yes.
Like, I couldn't go up the scale. It's like, I hate these tests. I still can't do those things. If John Blow leaves his house at 6:29 in the morning and drives 50 miles an hour, I still can't do those.
Why
but
are you
anyway,
leaving so early in the morning?
I know. Where's he going?
But anyway, so I've just been getting, and my mom was really creative, but she didn't know how to do houses. And so when I was 16, I started doing their house in Florida. And I go, "Mom, you put yourself together in your little Chanel and your outfits, and the house looks great." And she said, "Well, you've been doing them." So anyway, I just started drawing, and I see millions of colors. I love butterflies. I love doing really intricate design of simple things. And these are not great. When Ralph Lauren was doing, I did this, and this is, I can sort of draw it backwards and forwards the same, but this is all nature. This is water, my love of water. I think I did this in Aspen, and trees and the sun. It's all about nature and exploration and happiness. And here's me. I drew this, I think, in New Zealand a few years ago. That's beautiful. Me with my armor on. You ask, I've been hiding out in my armor my whole life, and see the little wiggly water, but going with the flow. So even though I look, and then I have this in blue with a smile, but that's really who I am. So it's taken a long time. And then I love, everything is about the stars and telling stories.
Yeah. Can we show the picture of you holding up the earth, and can you talk about that? Because I love that image. Yeah, that one right there. That is great.
Well, that's when I was drawing I Am the Universe. For some reason, even though I've always been sort of insecure, I've always also had a part of me that felt so grounded in nature. I've been trying to ground myself in reality because my feelings got hurt. I didn't like people being mean to pets or me or to anybody. So anyway, that's me holding up the world saying, I am the universe. We are all, we are all the universe.
I love that.
And it's about housing, feeling comfortable in your house on Earth, or really off planet, and then being nice to pets and birds and Mother Nature.
Yeah. And we have a few other samples of your artwork. Amanda, if we can just kind of run through some of these, maybe you can talk as we run through them.
Yeah, I drew that star again in Machu Picchu about 8 years ago. I was on a shaman trip with people from Montecito, and then this was Disclosure. I was just mad that Disclosure a few years ago was not coming out. My heart was broken and dragging along the water. You can see on the bottom.
What do the Z and N and O and A and the letters represent?
It was no more to Disclosure. That's N-O. And then Z was sort of the Zorro and me going, ran, and then I helped design a Star Trek logo 40 years ago. It was like, and A meant attitude, atmosphere, astronaut. Z, Zorro, is amazing. You just reach for the stars. And then M is me. And then I just chopped off the E on the left. But
I love that you have so much symbolism in there. Awesome. And did you just say, this kind of went over maybe some people's heads, but did you say you designed a Star Trek logo?
Well, I worked at the firm in Boulder. We were designing the downtown Boulder Mall. We were doing work with Disney. We were working at Faneuil Hall, Madison Square Garden. And in Madison Square Garden, if you look at what the ceiling is, I didn't have anything to do with that. But when Henry Beer and Janet and Richard, three principals of the firm I was working for, in downtown Boulder, that was like 50 or 100 the most creative people. I used to ride my bike to work, and then I'd go jog, hike, and ski, and travel all over working on these projects. But we worked on the Star Trek logo 40 years ago, and
so cool.
And that took about a year. I wasn't obviously a main lead. I was still pretty young. I was in my it was right at the beginning of design school. And I was working there, but I was, it was 40 years ago. So, but anyway, that was amazing. So NASA has always been thread also, always the design, always the healing, all the way throughout my life of of that. So anyway,
That's amazing. And some of your artwork has actual stories to experiences you've had. Not this particular one, but there's one, the San Francisco, that one right there.
Well, the other ones were just those last two showed. I did them. Those were my first ones I did the first day and 1 and 2 of COVID because I was already bored. I was like,
yeah, lockdown.
I'm going to get to myself after, working and supporting my kids and sort of my ex and my kids. But anyway, the Golden Gate Bridge, both of those, the moon ones were fragments of these memories that I had from zooming back and forth up in space. So I went on craft at 5 and 6 and 10, but then the age 10 one I went on one of the huge crafts, one of the 2-mile long crafts, and I had stats put in my head. Then I went to Mars and Pluto and Venus, and I asked Neptune, and I asked Dad again, and I've asked 10 different readers and stuff over the years, why did I go there? And I said, Dad, why didn't you go with me then? And then he said they didn't think you needed the Arcturians and the Pleiadians and Sirians took you. They thought you were ready. And I said, I was age 10. And he said, well, you'd already been up there at 5 and 6. I went, oh yeah, well, you're right. I was like, okay, so what's the big deal? So anyway, they took me for 2 weeks in human time and they just took me around. And then I've been going up ever since. But again, I can't remember a lot of this. This part I'm getting told. I mean, I don't remember going
Mary, why do you think that?
What?
I mean, why do you think? I mean, obviously, you have a great connection with these extraterrestrials, and
I do.
They're certainly not. Yeah, you have a great connection, probably better than most abductees I've ever talked to. But why do you think, of all people, they want to screen your memory where you can't bring back the whole thing?
Well,
I'm very curious about that because
they're not trying to screen it. I've been asking them for years, actually, why I can't remember. I said, I know I'm new with this and I don't have all these degrees and I meditate, but I'm not I don't meditate for 8 hours a day. I'm too busy and I'm too, at night I'm quiet. Life. I do meditate, but it's like, I can drop in when I'm going for a walk by the beach where I go every day in 5 minutes. I mean, I do my own sort of, I'm really weird that way. And I could sort of, when I was hypnotized, I sort of knew that I was getting hypnotized. Yeah, I can drop in and let my subconscious go out and stuff. But anyway, so they have been watching my dad, my family for 94 generations since 08. And I have been, that's tracking forever my past life because I have these memories. It's like, how can I think? Like when I was on Atlantis and I remember being a doctor and we were working on all these things. I'm going, why am I zooming in on crystals? So all the art that I was doing for those couple of years of COVID were triggering memories of where I had been and what I had been doing. But it's always with the ETs. And I say, why me? And they said, because you got your same psychism as your dad had. You learned your skills. You were really hardworking. You had the wiring for it, a very unique wiring. Everybody has unique wiring. And because I've asked 30 different people, 100 different people, why nobody's ever heard of design off planet or, so it's just what I've done. And it's mostly my DNA, my heredity, my ancestry goes back to kings and queens. Whether that's good or bad, it doesn't matter. And I've asked them, and I've asked other people that I've talked to a lot over the last 4 years. I mean, I've spent sort of a lot of money and a lot of time just during COVID because I had time and I wanted to. I waited for a long time to dive into this. And they said, your particular kind of space DNA has been very interesting to us. And we've watched you and groomed you and helped you and protected you. And then a friend of mine I was talking to a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewing her. And I know you know her, Katie. Anyway, she said, oh, Archangel Metatron is here. And he says he's been with you for your whole life. And I said, well, I knew Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael and maybe a few other gods and goddesses and Arcturians. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, Archangel Metatron. Why me? And he said twice now to me, because we were watching your family lineage and nurturing and protecting you and wanting you to grow and learn so you could help us. You help us, we help you. Your number one gift is you're helping others. And then I said to him the other day, and actually today, I said, what can I do? And he said, more for kids. You're so good with that. And more on planet, more off planet. You're going to be doing a lot more when the ETs come here, because you've already been helping us on Earth for a long time. We've been watching you. And I said, Dad, did you hear that? And he said, I've known that forever. And so
good. Another kids book is coming our way.
Yay!
That's super great. Yeah, that's amazing.
You and I are going to do that. So,
oh, really? Okay, I'll do that with you, Mary.
I don't know why, but I think all of us play our part. You guys are doing your part. I don't know anything about technology, so I wouldn't be good at that, as you know. But
that is so true. We all have a role to play. Can you talk a little bit about that San Francisco experience and that drawing there?
Oh, the Golden Gate Bridge.
The Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay, well, I love the Golden Gate Bridge. My mom's boyfriend, after my dad died, wrote the book on that, the Golden Gate Bridge, years ago. Anyway, I was driving home right before COVID, once again, from Napa. I just bought and flipped a house because I've always done that because I enjoy doing it, and I make a little extra money to pay for the kids' MBA recently. Both of them are getting their MBAs.
Nice.
Anyway, so I was driving across the Golden Gate Bridge. I just sold a house in 1 minute, which I love to do. I saw a double rainbow in Sonoma, driving across the bridge, feeling really good, see another double rainbow. And I'm going, yeah, it's just like I'm driving the speed limit, which I actually do. And then 3 rocks, I'm going like, what is that? These 3 rocks that were like 3 or 4 feet around, black, just out of nowhere. It was like 9 a.m. I just signed the papers in Sonoma, and I just scooted back to the city because I used to have a place up there, which I've sold. I couldn't afford it anymore, which I loved it, but I'm happy here, paying for more stuff. Anyway, one crashed into my windshield, one crashed and bounced under my car. So the engine thing was, I don't do cars. That's that. I do houses. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, there was smoke coming up, and then one hit the side of my car, and it was like, holy cow, I'm going to die. I'm about 2 minutes away from going through the Golden Gate Bridge with the toll booth thing before they took them out. And for the first time in my life, I said, and I couldn't do my foot pedal, and I couldn't steer. It was like whatever got screwed up underneath was really screwed up. And I got really scared. And now a couple cars are going by honking, going, like, your car's on fire. It's like, yeah, thank you very much. I know that. I can't slow my car down, so I need to focus. Like, thank you. And I said, Archangel Michael, will you help me? I've never asked you for anything. I've never asked anybody or anything, but right now, can you help me? And all of a sudden, literally, I've told about 10 people this story, or 5 or something. The car, and I said, just get me to the Presidio Trust. My son does forestry at the Presidio Trust. I used to work there with environmental films. So I said, take me, since you know everything, I'm sure, take me to the parking lot of the Presidio Trust, because it's across the bridge. I don't have time to stop now, and I can't die today. And I'm going to be going 2 miles an hour through the thing, and you can't do that. And I'm going to crash into people. Can you just get me to the parking lot, which I said is about a half a mile away. And then the car can just collapse there, but I can't. I have to get across the bridge. I just have to get across the bridge. So it was going to take too long to get towed and all that stuff. And didn't want to deal with it. I was on a mission. So anyway, he got me across the bridge. Wow. And the car stopped. My Audi then at the time stopped. I jumped out of the car and ran about 50 feet because I thought it was like there was all the smoke. I thought it was going to explode. And then it just went, and the whole thing just died, towed away. I took an Uber over to the car place in Marin, bought a new used car in 5 seconds because I can't live without a car. And I was driving across the bridge with my iPhone, which you're not supposed to do. And I took that picture. And so that I manipulated the art. So the Pleiades was above me. The stars were above me. The stars guided me to save me. We are all bridges. And so to me, that was my gratitude and thankfulness for really saving my life that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Hey, that kind of makes you think about your spirituality to some degree, I think. And so I'm wondering, you've had experiences with people off world or off planet. I'm not sure how you want to say it. Do you have a sense of their spirituality? Do they experience spirituality the same as we do? And do they go through a spiritual awakening like a lot of us do?
That's a really good question. I've never asked them that. I've never asked them to do that, but over the years, when the Arcturians, since I used to swim so much and in pools and stuff too, I've lost a lot of the hearing out of my right ear. And so other people told me that they put a little light, like a little lighthouse, almost hearing thing where they can talk to me. And I don't know when it happens. Again, I don't know anything. I know less every day. I don't know anything about anything basically, but I do know that I hear some things. Mm-hmm. And I talk through other guides. They do say, yes, we have our own spirituality. Yes, we are here to help guide you if you work hard and you really are honest and truthful. And they say to me, we know you've been through a lot. So most of you, like a lot of us have, strength through struggle. I told my kids at the dining room table, they were 5 and 6, and I was sitting there going, I can't believe this. My parents were married forever. What am I supposed to do? I'm working full time. Got to get to NASA. Got to get to teach. and I just said, you know what? I'm sorry. This is really weird, but you guys are going to be fine. And you're both really different kids, and you're going to make it through like I made it through, and you can do anything you want. And I'm going to do whatever I can that you get the right education. I'm going to try to inspire you. I took him to New Zealand. I took him to Machu Picchu. I sold the other au pair car. And I got rid of the au car and took him to Machu Picchu after I'd been with Kenny and those guys, because I was so inspired by it. So, and we spent all time, my son's doing forestry at the Presidio Trust now. My daughter Lizzie works at Salesforce, connecting, teaching, inspiring people all over the world as a global community manager. But anyway, they said, we can't help fix anything. We can't tell you what to do, but we're always going to be there to support you. We can't come down and obviously fix your world because you guys have basically screwed it up, right? Yeah. We'll shut down our nuclear program to help stop bombs and stuff. But anyway, I just know that they are spiritual. They wouldn't treat me and all of us so well with such care and such love. I mean, I had a few rough times. I mean, where I was really down and out. One time I had like $500, and for 1 second I thought I'm going to jump off the bridge. I thought, oh, too cold. Really too cold.
Always practical. Always practical.
And I'm sure we've all had that. Look at it. I mean, we've all gone through stuff. Yeah. I know that my love is just, my cup runneth over. And when I used to go to, when I got confirmed and the Holy Comforter and Episcopalian, my dad never liked it. And now I get why. But I used to ride my bike down to the Baha'i Temple. And it was right across from the yacht club down the street where Dad kept his boat. And I'd just run over there and I'd sit there. And when somebody asked me about that in an interview about a year ago, they said, why did you like Baha'i Temple? And I said, unity. And I didn't even know why I said that, other than I felt so safe. I love the architecture. It was quiet. And then I went home after that and I looked up online if the extraterrestrials had any connection with the Baha'i faith. And they went, yes, forever. And I went, oh my God, duh. So anyway, I learned, I'm just waking up right now. I started waking up like last year. So I don't really know anything. I just know I'm really intuitive and I have some.
Mary, we're running out of time, and I definitely want to ask you this question. I want to talk about something you mentioned in the beginning of the show, your past lives. Very few people have ever come on our show and talked about past lives. And I'd like to get your comments on your past lives.
Well, I had part of my dreams that I had when I was a little girl, and I haven't had those for a long time, but I had them all through my childhood, was me zooming through underground, DUMBs. When Misha Johnson and other people have done readings, they said, you've been part of DUMBS, you've been part of my lab, you've been part of a lot of the programs, you've been off planet a lot. But I never thought it was the DUMBs, and I didn't think it was maybe off planet, like what I've been doing, habitats. But these are positive. Maybe they were negative back once. But anyway, so I just started doing that because I had all these dreams of me zooming around. So these memories that I have, I was going like 2 miles underground, and it was like inner Earth. I've never been to inner Earth, but on Gaia, I've seen a contact in the desert a couple of times. The one time that I went there, I'm going to go again. I'm going to go to Conscious Network this year. But anyway, I would see crystal interiors that were shining bright, shining light. These long sofas that were like built out of rock and stone that were like from here, 500 feet out. Wow. So I used to have these dreams, and then I have the underneath the pyramids, and I've never been able to afford to go. And underneath the pyramids, and it was always at the pyramids. My parents went to the pyramids in 1951, and anyway, and then I did these past lives, and I researched them. I don't know if you save those ones, but I've been healers here. One past life was I wrote on this page in this book that I put together so I could remember all this. Oh, look at my dad right there, the picture of my dad and me.
Oh, that's great.
My hair.
That's nice.
Really fuzzy.
That's great.
And that's me with Mom with one of my outfits on. I told you I have the outfits with the V. See me with look at the orbs or the light behind my mom. That was me protecting my mom. And that's my grandfather. But awesome. I was a female doctor that used crystals in healing in Atlantis. I was a female herbal healer in China in 250 BC. These are not normal. I was an Egyptian architect for the pyramids, murdered in 100 BC. And I said, why, in one of the readings a few years ago, I said, why was I murdered? And they said, you were 39 years old. You were one of the main architects. I'm sure there were tons of them. And they said they didn't want you to tell the secrets. You grew up in a wealthy family. They sent you to England for architecture school. You came back. You had a wife and 3 kids. And you were 39. Wow. They killed all the people after they designed them. And then male Hindu sage for spiritual work in Goa, India. And went on my rug business for 10 years, from like 40 years ago to 30 years ago after a trip to India and Tibet and Nepal. And I fell in love with India. And Tibet and Nepal,
I think we all kind of come in with these interesting, attractions to certain things, and maybe it does come from past lives. And I would love to, in the future, to have you back on, Mary, to join us again, because this has just been fascinating. You've been a terrific guest, and unfortunately we're down to our last minute, but I want to encourage everybody to check out Mary Edwards' book. It's fantastic. I know it's a little late for Christmas gifts, but if you have children or grandkids, I recommend it highly. Check out her website again, Mary Edwards. What is it? Art Mary
Edwards
Design.com. Yes. And thank you, Chris DiPerno. Thank you, Jerry Jenna. Thank you, Tara. Thank you to Amanda Curran, our producer, and to Bill Skywatcher. Thank you to all our listeners out there. And I really, really hope that you all have just a fantastic holiday week, and that you get all your Christmas shopping done and wrapped and everything on time. It's kind of a stressful time of year, but we'll make it through it. And I hope everybody enjoys it. Yeah. And we will see you next time, and keep looking up. And if you see anything, please report it to MUFON. Go to MUFON.com to report any, I know Santa and his reindeer will be flying around, but don't report those. Don't report Santa, but report those UFOs. So see you next week, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.